So Aliens Fireteam Elite is a brand new co-op shooter and it's actually pretty good with a few flaws and a few bugs. I've recently finished the game and have been building up my technician and progressing the higher difficulties with friends. Today I want to run through my experiences with the game and share some of my impressions. So we load into Aliens Fireteam for the first time and we start in our own little spaceship hub. It's littered with its own little homages to the Alien series. There's even a visible power loader, but don't get your hopes up, you won't get the chance to pilot one like in the movies. From this hub we can customise our character and build, group up with friends, debrief with NPCs and launch missions. The game is broken up into 4 main missions which are made up of 3 sections each. There's a Horde Mode too, but you'll need to complete the main missions to unlock that. I'll come back to Horde later. So let's get into the very first mission. It's very reminiscent of the original Alien movie or Alien Isolation, with a similar attention to detail throughout the ship's interior. The game as a whole does a good job at being faithful to the Aliens universe, and you'll get to play cooperatively with 2 other players, or alternatively you can play with literal bots in the form of synthetics. It isn't going to take long before you encounter some aliens, and they're going to come at you in swarms. I'm playing a technician who specialises in a little portable turret, so I'm making good use of that here, but I can also throw down charge coils that slow down and weaken aliens. They're really useful. There's currently 5 classes available. There's Gunner, which boosts the team's fire rate and has access to grenades. Demolisher brings heavy weapons along with its own missile launcher, and they've got access to the Blast Waves ability, which is pretty effective at knocking down special aliens. The Dock supports the rest of the team and carries portable trauma stations. The final class, Recon, is only available after finishing the campaign. It has drones that reveal enemies' location and support drones that also provide ammo for the rest of the team. Back to the core gameplay, there is cover to hide behind, and to be honest, I'd really only use this cover to better position our team to help prevent friendly fire, especially in the game's narrow corridors. The cover itself feels a bit pointless when you're fighting aliens that all fight in close quarters, apart from the spitter aliens which will hurl projectiles over the top of your cover anyway. Taking cover behind a full pillar is somewhat effective against spitters, but not ideal. A little bit later in the campaign you do fight a few synthetics that use guns, and the cover is very useful for dealing with synthetics. That's only a small fraction of the game. When you're fighting on higher difficulties and aliens break through your defense lines, you're going to end up kiting special aliens around as a last resort. So you'll generally work your way through each stage with swarms of aliens attacking throughout. Every time you play a stage, there's attempts to have a bit of randomness with very minor changes to some of the smaller objectives and enemy layouts. You'll quite often have to hunker down and defend critical objectives, and it can be pretty fun with overwhelming swarms of aliens attacking from multiple directions. There is one mission that is an escort mission, and you'll have to escort an NPC through the stage. It's one of the weaker moments in the game with some shoddy AI. The core gameplay loop is fun, but it can get quite repetitive. Some of the middle missions spice things up with gun-wielding synthetic enemies, and you'll need to make use of direct cover to tackle them. There's another surprising enemy type in the later missions, but I don't want to spell what that is. So back to the aliens, the core enemies of the game. There's a pretty wide offering of different alien types, from little facehuggers all the way to huge Praetorians. They all have their own little gameplay quirks. For example, bursters will explode on death, covering its surroundings in acid. Drones will flee and make use of vents to surprise attack you later on, and prowlers will hide on ceilings and pounce on you. But in comparison with another similar game, Left 4 Dead, the special type enemies here aren't quite as dangerous. Let's say if you get caught up by one of these prowlers hiding on the ceiling here, all you need to do is press a few button prompts or QTEs to break out of the prowler's grasp. While in Left 4 Dead, even on easier difficulties, you'd be stranded, slowly dying, and you'd need your teammates to break you free. I think they missed a trick here. If you couldn't break out of crowd control so easily, it would reinforce how terrifying the aliens can be, and it promotes more team play. As my technician, I chose to wield a shotgun, but there's a few other weapon types available. Pulse rifles with their iconic sound effects, smart guns with their auto lock-on are familiar Alien universe technologies. There's submachine guns, rocket launchers, grenade launchers, and you can unlock flamethrowers, but with friendly fire on higher difficulties, you have to be really careful where you point your flames. With all the weapons, reload time is really important in this game. With the swarms of aliens, you don't always get the respites to reload your weapons, and you may have to swap to a secondary weapon or a sidearm till you get the window to reload. So completing the game, aka the 4 main missions, took me just under 7 hours. It was fun, but I was a little disappointed that there aren't actually any bosses. But completing the main campaign unlocks Horde Mode. This is your typical wave-based defense mode, and it takes place on just this one map. This is where I experienced my first really annoying bug. One of the enemies must have clipped through a wall and was stuck. We could hear the alien, but we couldn't kill it. So we eventually just had to leave the match, and we forfeit all of our experience points and rewards, which really sucked. It'd be pretty easy to program in a countermeasure to prevent moments like this, but that's not been the case. I got lucky and I didn't experience that many bugs. I've seen a lot of other reviewers with tons of bugs, and I can only guess that either I got lucky, or there's been bug patches, or maybe the PC version isn't quite as bad. Overall, I appreciate the addition of Horde Mode, but it doubles down on the game's repetitiveness, especially when it's just this one map location. At the end of every stage you'll get a little bit of experience points, and you'll be able to level up your weapons and classes. There's a decent little customization system in the form of the perk grid. This allows you to allocate points you've unlocked to enhance your class's abilities or weapons, and you can combine perks together. As you level up your class you get access to more perks and more grid space to slot these perks in. If you level up multiple classes you can even carry over one class's perks onto other classes. It's a nice little system that'll help you climb the game's multiple difficulty levels. One other system I want to mention is the challenge cards. These are random cards that you'll earn that you can play when starting up a stage. These cards could give you a bonus to experience points or credits earned, or they could change up the stage and add new challenges. These cards are designed to provide the extra replayability to the game. But there was this one challenge card we had which would cause a big alien drone to appear constantly throughout a stage. We used our big brains and we used this card on a stage that we knew was already filled with synthetic enemies. And when this alien drone would appear, it would sometimes get caught in the crossfire between my team and the synthetic enemies. Sometimes the alien would even aggro and attack the synthetics. I thought it was pretty cool we were able to manipulate a challenge card into something beneficial that helped us clear the stage with extra rewards. So do I think Aliens Fireteam Elite is worth your time? Well, the 4 main missions were pretty good, it was fun. I mentioned earlier it only took about 7 hours to complete them, and the core gameplay loop does get a bit repetitive, but it's when you start tackling higher difficulties in the Horde mode that the game really doubles down on the repetitiveness. So it would just be the experience of doing the campaign for the first time that I'd really be recommending. There was just the one main bug I experienced. I mentioned earlier this completely ruined a Horde run, but this is still a massive improvement over the notorious Aliens Colonial Marines, which was just a completely broken, unfinished scam of a game. If you've got 2 co-op friends, it'll make the game even better, and if you're an Aliens fan, well, I expect you've already bought the game, and I can confirm this is faithful to the Aliens universe. If this was a full price £50 to £70 game, I don't think I'd recommend it as much, but it's not full price and you can pick it up pretty cheap if you shop around. And literally just as I finished putting this video together, there's been a free patch that adds new weapons and the new class Phalanx, which specialises in a big shield, so even more bang for your buck. All my weapons have also been maxed out, which I'm guessing is a bug. Right, I'm off to continue progressing the higher difficulties. Peace for now.